Love is in the air. Every time I look around, it's Valentine's Day. I don't know if this is exactly Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's week. It's 50 Shades Day. Hello, everyone. It's Diminishing Returns. It's time for our third annual 50 Shades of Grey episode, in which we forget about the films because they're shit and talk about Sol's sex life. Hello, welcome. My name is Alan. With me, as always, is Sol.
I mean, it's not exclusively me. We talk about
it is going to be this year, though.
We talk about your sex life.
No, it's going to be this year's the Sol year. And also over there, we have Calvin.
Hello.
Hello. Now, 50 Shades Freed is the one we're talking about. Came out last year. Nobody cared. Did you watch it?
Yeah, on that note, actually, Mum, don't listen to this one.
Your mum or Alan's mum? Alan's mum doesn't like us talking about 50
Both.
Shades films.
Yeah, Alan's mum, if you're listening, don't. You'll be furious. This will anger you. Why do they need to talk about such lurid subjects? That's disgusting.
She does sound like Eric Idle in Monty Python's.
Can we try inducing some flashbacks, Alan?
Thomas!
It's time for school, Thomas! Come downstairs and eat your
porridge! Strange impression you have of my mother.
Did we all watch it anyway? Because you say people didn't care. It made $371 million at the box office.
Jesus Christ.
It made more than most of the Oscar films this year, apart from Black Panther. So,
Jesus Christ!
I'm surprised because the third film, everyone knew it was shit by that point.
No, well, yeah. I mean, that's still half of what the first one made, 4 years prior. But people were still turning up for this.
I mean, I certainly didn't pay to see it.
Oh yeah, I made a point of not paying to see this one. But I went out of my way to not give any money to these people because they don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I don't think that's entirely fair. There are very competent people working on this. But at the head of that pyramid of people is, what's her name, E.L. James.
Yeah, they say vote with your wallet, and I didn't want to cast a vote for this film.
Fair
That's
enough.
kind of what I mean.
Yeah, fair enough.
So basically, this is, the third part of the 50 Shades trilogy, in which these two people have a very bad relationship, but they stay together anyway, and middle-aged women think that's a happy thing. So
just jumping in straight there, right? The previous two films, there's been a real sense that they don't want to address that it's such a blatantly unhealthy, awful relationship that the two have.
Bad romance.
This film seems to revel in just portraying it as a very bad relationship, at least for the first half, and then it sort of seems to decide that you should be on board with it after a while. But it certainly sets them up as having a really bad relationship, and she's getting pissed off with it. I don't know. It was very weird.
One of the earlier scenes that stuck out to me as on that point actually was when they have this. They're finding their home, and they have this architect who's this sexy lady, and she's coming on to Mr. Grey, and then he leaves for whatever reason out of the room, and then Anna has a proper go at this woman. She's like, "Don't you touch my husband?
Stop
don't you?
Trying to sleep with my husband."
Yeah, exactly.
I see how you're looking at him.
First of all, that says to me that Anna's incredibly insecure. That's probably something that most couples would sort of if you were truly in love, you would laugh about afterwards. You'd be like,
she was fucking coming on to you then, wasn't she?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because, the problem is not that this woman's coming on to her and she sees it's disrespectful. The problem is that he might sleep with her. And she thinks he might sleep with her. She doesn't trust him.
And the scene as written, I think it could be played sort of comedically, but the music and the shots and everything, it's playing it almost like it's this tense sort of sinister confrontation, and it's not. Anyway, that was just one of many moments that stuck out to me as an example of that.
The one that really stuck out to me was very early on, even earlier than that, I think, when they're on the beach and he's pissed off that she's not fully dressed. So he's like, "Oh my god, everyone can see your tits. They're my tits. They're not for anyone else. What are you doing? And she's just like laughing, like, sorry, I've turned over while I was sleeping. Huh? And he gets really like pissed off about it.
Yeah. Not a good relationship. But I mean, right from the beginning of this film, the film begins with them wedding. And I was just like, I have no recollection of what happened in the first two films. I do not recall the last film ending on them about to get married. Did I?
Neither did I.
I thought they got married at the end of the last one.
Maybe they did.
Oh, the last thing I remember, he was in a helicopter crash, and that meant she loved him again.
That was about halfway through the film.
No, that was
wasn't
at
it?
the end, wasn't it?
Crash.
Well, in the last, 20 minutes.
My first note here is it took me all of 60 seconds to remember just how much I despise these characters.
Yeah.
We've already run out of things to say.
Well, off the bat, it takes them 9.5 minutes to get to some sex in this one. So at least this film's got that right.
Well,
the previous films, it takes there's 3 sex scenes or something in the other films. This was quite consistently
the sex scenes are very nothing though.
Well, yeah, but they always were, weren't they? I mean,
There's very little in the way of S&M. Like even in the first films, it's like a pretend version of it. But in this, it's like they don't even.
No, it's as much a pretend version of it. They're still like, oh, I'm gonna put your hands in this handcuff thing. Aha,
that is about as good as it gets, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose so.
You know what really annoyed me very early on? They have a discussion about that they introduce some conflict for their relationship because apparently he doesn't want children, certainly not anytime soon, and she maybe does. And I just couldn't help but think maybe that's a conversation worth having before you get married to someone.
Yeah.
But what annoyed me was when they get married, they're about to go on honeymoon, they pull up at the airport, there's his private jet there, and she looks out the car and goes, "You own this?" Like, he's a fucking multi-millionaire, you daft bitch. How often do you need to be surprised? He owns everything, you know this. Sake.
I like the bit, but there's a bit where they're driving a car dangerously, and then that gets them turned on, and they have really quick sex that lasts about 5 seconds before he comes. But they get so turned on by the car and driving dangerously that they just can't help themselves. And so for a while, I was really hoping they were going to become those weird car people, like in that movie Crash, who get turned on by car crashes and end up driving around like maniacs and getting into accidents just so that they can get their rocks off.
But I can imagine Calvin getting turned on by an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one in the underground car park where I live. In the opposite space to me, there is an Aston Martin Vantage in silver, and it is quite something. And then I get into our Peugeot 206, and we drive off, and that's fine because all it is really is a 4 wheels and a body of metal that gets you from A to B, isn't it?
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
From many, many years ago, I was in a
many moons.
I was going out with this girl. It wasn't a really long relationship or anything, but at one point we drove out somewhere.
Do I know this one?
The person? No, it's way before. This was when I was 19.
It's not the Greg's one.
It is her, actually. Yes.
Hey.
And we drove off somewhere, and I can't remember where. But anyway, we ended up having sex in a lay-by in the car.
In the car. Oh,
yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
She was driving you, I assume.
Oh yeah, I couldn't drive it.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
What's funny about that?
Did she shift you into fifth gear?
I like the idea of her driving you, pulling over into the lay-by, like in 50 Shades Freed, and you're so hot and sweaty that you jump over onto her lap, across.
Well, no, it was more like it was in 50 Shades. She was driving. In that scene in 50 Shades, she's the woman driving, and she gets so excited because she's got the adrenaline rush or whatever. So it was like that, except we were going 35 miles an hour up a country lane.
Yeah, that's thrilling though, and you can't see what's coming around the bend. And
look,
even at 30,
she just couldn't resist me, right? Anyway, so we ended up having sex in the car. So then the next couple of days after, the car was being funny, so she took it into service, and the front axle had broken, and she had to buy a new car.
Oh man, that is the sort of excellent anecdote that I commend you for saving to episode 3 of the 50 Shades trilogy.
I mean, it was an old kind of knackered car, and she was quite slim. It wasn't like she was heavy or anything like pounding on her. It was just the way it went. Oh well,
they're not designed for that. I mean,
Have you guys had sex in a car?
No, I haven't.
Not really. No, surprisingly, actually, no. So I've had sex things in a car, but not like it. To be honest, it was very much like, oh, should we just do this so that we can tick it off and say we've done it? And I guess so. I'm not. It's not. And I remember once I remember I was getting a blowjob in a car. Me and my partner. But it was in a car. We'd been for a walk out in the woods, and a car pulled in, and it was like, oh shit, the car's all steamed up, and this is really embarrassing. Let's just drive off really quickly as far as we can, and hope they don't notice. But I've since become aware that is a dogging site, that car park. So it was.
You had a near escape there.
We were playing into, who knows how that could have
worked out wonderfully.
Yeah.
Calvin, how much would it cost to hire like a top quality Aston Martin or whatever for a day? And you and your partner pootle around, maybe find a quiet spot.
I don't know actually.
Probably worth it, isn't it?
I don't know if there'd be the space. I mean, they're not. They're sports cars. They're not known for. I mean, you'd have to have the space to move around properly. I'm sure. Or is that not a problem?
Depends how big the people are.
Well, not that big. Well, I'm tall, I suppose.
Drive out to somewhere really remote. You can get out and do it on the bonnet, like a music video.
Yeah, and film it.
Yeah,
send it to me. Just for curiosity's sake.
Oh right.
We'll put it if Calvin films himself having sex. We'll put it on the Patreon account. $1 a month.
Oh, that reminds me. We need to do some shout outs for. Should we do that there? Should we chuck them in?
Will they be happy that they're being mentioned here?
This is the best episode you could possibly get your Patreon shout out in, surely. So if you head over to patreon.com/dim returns, you will see our Diminishing Returns profile, and you can get access for as little as $1 a month.
$1 a month.
I know, it's fuck all, innit? That's like what? I mean, that used to be about 60p, but the pound isn't faring very well these days.
Do you have to pay in American money? Is that the only way to do it?
I think so, yeah.
Disgraceful.
Well, no, it's more fun, isn't it? It's like Monopoly money. It's like when you go to Disneyland and they make you buy pretend Disney money.
So you don't think about how much you're spending. So you can sign up to our little collective for $1 a month, but what do you get for that?
So we do loads of mini-sodes, mini episodes of the show, putting those out regularly.
Yeah, and it's generally we're reviewing things that has just come out. Isn't it?
I mean, that's the big draw. That's the money melon. But
we could be doing anything.
I mean, well, if you want us to do something, tell us and go and subscribe, and we'll consider it. You know, if you want to see Alan videoing himself eating a yogurt, like, we can make that happen. If you,
I have a video of me eating a banana actually, which could be quite. It's not a joke either. What about? I mean, I'll suck cock for about $30. What about that? That was a very Kevin Smith joke, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh god. And Calvin stepped out at the minute, but I think he will be on some of these. It won't always be just. Yeah, it won't always just be. It won't always just be us on the Diminisodes.
But we've had this Patreon up for a couple of weeks already. And some lovely people have already joined us.
Yeah. Well, basically, you also get some early access to shit. You get some.
There's a whole hour-long outtakes episode up there at the moment.
Yeah. We're gonna have some vote episodes where you like vote for what you want to hear. So there's gonna be some other stuff. Oh, ding dong!
Oh, hello. Who's this? Hello.
Oh, hello, lads.
Hi,
been a while.
Japanese Bond. Yay.
Oh, hi, hey, you here with the list of patrons? Oh yes. Sure. Sure, number one, we've got Chris, and he
Chris.
he didn't leave a last name. Oh well, thanks very much, Chris. Chris, very generous, Chris. Hugely appreciated.
Thank
you were
you.
our first patron, so you'll always hold a special place in the heart of the show.
Membership number 00001.
Yeah. Oh, so we better give a special prize to 0007. Hey, lads.
Good one, Japanese Bond. Yeah, fucking clever.
Yeah. Man, fantastic. So, who else is there? Well, we've got Mr. Aaron Funnel.
Aaron Funnel.
Yeah, very fun.
He's a fun
Aaron
guy.
Funnel. What fun
Putting
guy.
the fun into funnels.
Sorry if your name's Aaron, but I mean, I don't know. You write in if we said it wrong. Aaron Funnel. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, thanks.
Japanese Bond seems to have a struggle saying Aaron Funnel in his accent.
It's not a name we really have in Japan, Aaron. Next
Thank
up,
you.
big hearty thank you to Barney Metcalf. I can't say these anglicised names, these Western names, lads. I don't know how to say them.
I'll help you out now. Barney Metcalf.
Barney
Excellent.
Metcalf, yeah. Thanks, Barney. Again,
Oh, nice one.
big appreciate. Yeah, much appreciated. We've got Ernst de Bruijn. Alan, how do you say that?
Ernst de Bruijn.
Bruijn.
I recognise that name. He comments on our stuff.
Yeah, he's a long time. I mean, so is Barney.
Yeah.
So is Aaron. I think all these lads, they're all.
The names seem familiar. Yes.
Yeah.
They like our posts on Facebook. I think that's why I know the name.
I'll tell you who else is very familiar. Is a long-time listener, fan of the show, star of My Family, Chris Marshall.
Really?
And I bet he loves people making this comment about him having a name that's the same as a famous person.
He was all right in Love Actually.
Yeah.
I mean, his character's
Yeah,
completely pointless. But
I think he was one of our
did a
favourite
decent job of
subplots.
it.
Thank you, Chris.
You should move to America.
Oh,
girls
no,
are
I bet he doesn't
into
need
accent.
to. I bet Chris is absolutely drowning in women looking as good as he does, flashing his cash like this, chucking $1 at a podcast.
Yeah.
You know,
He knows
he must
how
be
to
a very
spend.
generous man. So he's all the women flock to him.
I bet he splashes out on the ladies.
Yeah. But I bet all the women flock to Ernst as much as well, and Barney.
Sure.
They're all doing.
Or whatever they particularly
and
are attracted to. I'm sure
all the men.
they
Yeah,
flock
yeah.
to them, whatever.
Or none if they don't. You know,
Yeah.
people are just. You know,
Look, this is
attracted
the
to
sex episode, all right? We have to go down this road.
Well, speaking of sex, lads,
Oh, yeah.
a big special thank you to Santa Claus himself, who's started chucking us some monies, and that's the name he's put down, is Santa Claus himself. So good old
Santa
Saint Nick,
Claus.
and he's got a picture of Miles Tails Prower from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on his profile. So you know he's your kind of lads there. He's my kind of lads, Japanese. Eh?
All right,
Oh,
excellent.
yeah.
Look at old Santa Claus.
Yeah. And last but not least,
Oh.
Mr. 007 himself.
Oh, yeah.
007. I think you put 3 zeros at the start.
4 or
before.
5, I'm sure.
Yeah. Last but not least, Mr. Tom Patton, who's
Oh,
who's
God,
already
Tom
a
Patton,
friend of
yeah,
the
yeah.
show for his help with converting episodes to YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah, it does a lot for us.
Yeah, sure. Thanks again, Tom. It's very, very,
Much appreciated.
very much appreciated. Hey, so I tip my glass of perfectly temperature kept sake at the correct 95 degree, whatever the fuck it was, temperature. I tip it to you, lads. You hear that?
Yay!
Down in 1. Thank you. And we shan't let you down.
Well, yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. Thanks, Japanese Bond. Oh, that's alright, lads. I'll pop in from time to time to let you know about all these listening lads, and maybe one day we'll have a listening lady, but I wouldn't count on it, you know.
That will never happen, and you know it.
Yeah, no. All right, we'll see you, lads.
Bye. Okay.
All
Cool.
right.
Well, thank you to all the guys who've already Patreonized us, and hopefully it'll be worth your while.
Genuinely a big heartfelt thank you, because it does mean a lot, and
Yes.
it is going a long way towards covering our running costs. All right.
We better keep talking about the film, though, because we're just a bit too much of a detour there.
What about 50 Shades?
Yeah, but we were just filling the time while Calvin went and had a poo, so now we should be back in a minute. Here he is. Look, here. Come on.
Can I chuck some positives at this film?
You can try.
I think they nearly have chemistry in this one.
Oh,
The two leads.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they're nearly shown enjoying each other's company.
Which?
I can't quite remember what was happening, but he had wet hair and he like shoved his head in her boobs to try and like make her top wet so he could see her boobs.
Yeah, when she's washing his head.
It was like it nearly worked. They nearly had some chemistry. I nearly bought that
I
they
know what you
liked
mean,
each
yeah.
other, and there's been nothing even close to that in the previous films. Just going to say it now. I think this is by far the best of the three. I think this is by far the least shit of the three. But I don't know how much of that is just I really, really didn't want to watch it, and I knew what I was getting into, and it wasn't as bad as I don't know.
if I had to rewatch one, I'd probably go back to the first one, just because you can kind of get the sense that there are people there trying to do something interesting with it. Whereas here, you just have people going through the motions, because I guess E.L. James had a good approvals contract or something. And she's got a husband doing the adapting, and a director who's just turning up and pressing on the camera, and that's about it.
Did you like the scene where she finds his blatant suicide gun loaded and ready in his desk, and he pretends it belongs to someone else so that she doesn't get worried about him?
Do all rich people have that? A suicide gun?
That's quite a common trope for, like, rich American people, I think.
I don't know if I thought of it as a suicide gun. It was more of a, like, I'm prepared to defend myself.
You keep a loaded gun in your desk at work.
In case the IRS comes knocking.
That is your suicide gun. That is a classic.
In case the stock market crashes.
Yeah.
What about that scene where she comes home from work, she's had a long day or whatever, she comes home from work and he's there immediately with a blindfold and like takes her to the playroom and all that. I just thought, she's just come home from work. She's probably not in the mood. She hasn't had dinner yet. She hasn't had a shower. She's just come straight off the, private car. But she's been sat in an office all day. Like, that is not sexy, is it? That's not what you want.
Yeah, I've got to
Just
say, I've
let
had
her just
that.
get settled before you fucking try and jump her.
I've had like equivalent of that before, and it is just like, fuck's sake. Like I really appreciate what you're going for. Like that's a nice outfit you've put on. Just give me give me half an hour just to like relax, sit down for a minute, and then we'll go do that.
Oh, I quite like it straight through the door. Oh, hey up.
The letterbox.
I'm just so worn out. I've just not got. But are you more passive or like forthcoming, Calvin? Like, how much energy do you need to give to it?
Yes, there is energy, obviously.
Maybe have that on underneath and be like ready to jump to that, but just kind of give me half an hour to like just be like, right, here's dinner, ready. Oh, thank you. I'm really tired. That's all right. Have a caffeinated beverage with your dinner. Oh man,
Caffeine
I am bouncing off the walls. Oh, I'm raring to go. What's happening? Oh, why don't you come up here? Oh, I see what's happening. Oh, very nice.
I don't know. The idea of coming home and there's someone there at all. Fuck's sake.
I think that's the main problem with it, I'll be honest. I think I agree with you. this film goes out of its way to offensively ruin a lot of really good music, doesn't it?
I don't remember much in the way of score. I just remember a lot of pop songs.
Yeah, being really badly covered.
I can't even... Let me have a look, actually, because I'm not sure if I'm not much of a music person, so I don't know these things. I know that there was the one that was for the movie by Rita Ora and... the One Direction one. What else was
I don't
there?
know what that is.
For You, it's called. Oh, I don't know. Which songs did you find offensively covered?
There was Never Tear Us Apart.
Oh, right, yeah.
But it was like, just... Don't ask me why you say it's true. It's like, right, just getting like a soul singer to do like a gospel singing version of it over minimal instrumentation isn't good. That's really shit. They did I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Bow, bow, bow. Oh, it was awful. Films like to... It's more of a trailer thing than anything. You have a blockbuster, you pick a well-known, usually like quite light-hearted pop song, and then you do a sort of stripped-down, sad version of it.
Well, they did that
makes
for
everything feel very epic.
They did that for the first film, didn't they? And the trailer had that Beyonce song, "Crazy in Love," but they just did that thing of like proper slowing it down. And they did it with this, didn't they? They had that Ellie Goulding song, "Love Me Like You Do," and they just did a similar thing with that. But I think it came from the trailer actually. So I think you're right with that. I think the trailer just went down quite well. So stick it all in the movie.
So the plot is this Hyde guy keeps like breaking in and attacking them and stuff, and inexplicably the police go, well, you know, it's your word against his. It's like, well, it's not, is it? There's like 4 witnesses to it, and yeah, they all know each other, but I think that's enough to... You're telling me there's no CCTV, there's no DNA on that knife he was holding? Yeah, it's just... The two of them are professional security people, so that's got to be worth something in court. Surely.
I don't think the police ever do. They don't commit to that idea that the police are just thinking. The film kind of presents it as if that is the case. It's not at all. You know, he gets his bail set at $500,000. You know, they obviously think he's a real threat. Nowhere in the judicial system is this guy getting away with anything. So it's just the film seems to want to present it as though he is.
Well, I've run out of notes.
Well, that Jack Hyde guy, he's from the previous one. He tries it on with the woman, and he's very aggressive, and so because she can't, and then she tries to fight it, and then basically Christian buys the company and has him fired, something along those lines, right? And that's why he's kind of got something against them, because he feels like even though he was the bad guy, he feels hard done by. So that's why he's being a dick, and he's like trying to get his revenge. But then they decide that's not enough, and arbitrarily in the last sort of 10 minutes sort of cram this other thing in that, oh yeah, he was actually in foster care with Christian Grey, and if he'd been pretty a child, he would have been picked by the rich family. Completely unnecessary, not explored in any way, thrown out. Presumably from the books, and it was just chucked in our last chapter because this woman decided she was like, oh, what's something else story? There you go. In keeping with the rest of her shit storytelling ideas. So that was stupid.
We get a car chase. That's a little bit of almost excitement.
Well, I mean, that whole quote-unquote plot was bullshit, but it was more of a plot than anything in the other films, and it was more consistently present throughout the film, the body of the film, than the attempts at plot in the other films.
When I decided to try to watch this film, I got about 20 minutes in, I was just like, I can't do this. And so I basically left it on. I was sorting my washing out and stuff. And then by the end, I was sort of watching it again. Like that, the plot that was there made me go, okay, let's see what's happening here. What's going to happen here? There was enough plot there to keep me my engagement. That's not to say it was good.
Definitely had more plot than the other two. I don't know if you condensed all of them into just one film, you might have some, vaguely interesting erotic thriller. But, yeah. There's just so much like soapy bullshit going on about like people thinking that that to go back to that what's architect again, and someone thinks that she's sleeping with a boyfriend or something, and it's just all this like gossiping like bits, and it's very uncompelling.
Are you guys as concerned as I am about Christian Grey's carbon footprint?
Oh yeah.
Because he seems just like he does not care for the environment at all, does he?
Of course not, no.
Very materialistic, these films. They do sort of ogle at like, ooh, look at that sexy private jet he's got. Ooh, look at his car.
At the start, remember the first film he's introduced, he's got pencils with his name written on them.
That's pretty classy though, to be fair.
That is, actually. Yeah,
that's the sort of thing I can imagine Calvin having.
I would love it. I really would.
I don't know. Calvin would have like a nice pen with his name on it, at least.
I like pencils.
In his little thing at work, in his little office stationery thing holder. Do you have your own office, Calvin?
No, of course I don't have my own.
You're a very powerful man, Calvin. Don't start denying
I bet Calvin's
it.
got like a Laurel and Hardy pencil case.
I don't have a pencil case.
He has someone walking behind him making notes of everything he says. He doesn't need his own pencils. His intern's doing it for him.
Yeah, but they hold his pencil case, and he says, "Oh, I think I need a 3B for this." And they go, "Here you are, Mr. Dyson."
In order to write notes on someone's work.
Or, might I suggest a 1H? Oh, yes, thank you.
Why is this character a ladybird? It doesn't make any sense. Calvin, have you got your own desk at least?
Yes! Of course I've
So
got my own desk.
Somewhere between office and desk. Is it like one of those open plan offices and you'll have to look at each other?
Yes, and I like that. I like my co-workers.
Yeah, you do, don't you? You do actually legitimately like people.
Maybe not legitimately, but I do like them, yeah. No, I do. Legitimately like them, yes.
So yeah, we do. Have you ever had sex at work, Calvin? Because you must have keys to the place, because you're quite important.
Keys?
I would imagine Calvin's workplace is just open 24 hours a day if anyone wants to.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I
late.
just loved Alan's notion of them, like the last person out locks up. I have access to the building, yes. But yes, no.
Have you ever taken someone there just to show them what you do and show off a bit?
No. No. I don't think you can have guests after a certain time.
It's like a 1970s boarding house.
I liked that.
Well, hang on, Alan. Have you ever had sex at work, Alan?
No, I don't think I have. I was just thinking about that, actually. Yeah, I knew you were going to ask.
What about at Greg's? Did you ever have sex in a Greg's with the Greg's woman?
No.
All sorts of... Did she ever, or did you ever, make a joke about sausage rolls referring to your penis?
No, I didn't, actually.
Really?
Weirdly enough, no.
Did you ever make a joke about pork pies referring
I don't think
to...
I made any Greg's-based puns about sex before you get further down this road. Not that I recall. I mean, the fact that she worked at Greg's was just one element of her personality, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know anything about her other than this. So.
Have you ever masturbated at work?
I must have. I can't remember specifically, but it feels like I would definitely have had at some point. Just in the bathroom or something, you just sneak off.
I did at university. Quite a bit in third year, actually. Yeah.
Oh, when you were working on Bride of Vernon.
Yeah. I had no time to do anything else, so I just it had come over me, and I just had to go and.
Did you do it like a tiny bit at a time? Have to do one thing.
I've had that, Alan. Alan, remember when we used to live with each other? I remember it happening once where we were watching a film, and I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm just gonna have to go masturbate. 'Cause I don't know what's going on. I've just been overcome with hormonal energy."
Watching a Rodney Dangerfield film,
and I just had to go off to my bedroom.
5 Wives.
And then I came out about 10 minutes later, and I was like, "Yep, all done."
Did you tell Alan what you were doing?
I think I did. I think I was like, look, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here. It happens sometimes. You're just hit with like,
oh yeah, I agree.
Hormones. It's like, whoa.
I agree, but it's usually some kind of like invitation if you tell someone, like you saying to Ellen, by the way, I'm gonna go and masturbate.
No,
I can just imagine you leaving the room and Alan sitting there awkwardly, like thinking to
not if you say, oh God, sorry about this. Like I know this is weird, but I'm just gonna. I hope I wasn't leading you on, Alan.
Yeah, I was knocking on the door. I was like, "Can I give you a hand?" What's...
Oh, dear.
Any more about the film? She does get pregnant.
Yes.
With the very clever foreshadowing suggests that he might not be happy about that. And I kind of liked this bit. This was the one bit of that I was like, oh shit, this is like some serious drama going on. This is like legitimate. Because, she finds out she's pregnant. She tells him. He's really pissed. Like, he's genuinely just pissed off about it. He doesn't want a baby. It's her fault because she didn't take the pill and all this sort of thing. So he's blaming her. They looked like they were going to try and get their way out of it by having her conflict with the bad guy and him giving her the old miscarriage to the ribs. And then they don't follow through on that either. They just she's still pregnant. Didn't affect it. But he's all right with it now. He's come to terms with it. But the story that we've gone through is this whole external conflict with the bad guy, not really to do with them or him and his internal thing going, all right, well, okay, I'm not ready to be a father, but maybe I should try this and do that. I want it for her. Like, it was none of it worked or made sense for this ending where it's like, yeah, we're going to have a baby, we're going to ruin our lives and we'll be fine with it. Just felt completely pointless, basically.
They can always pay for a sitter. They've got the money.
Yeah, but it's not like she's going to change, isn't she? She's just going to be fucking changed.
I suppose it's a bit hard. It's a bit of a turn-off, I guess. I can imagine you handling kids well, Alan. Saul, I can't at all. Like, I imagine...
Really?
Yeah, no,
I don't think it'd be fucking great, Dad. What are you talking about? I'll be the best.
No. I'm not talking about being a dad. I'm just talking about like handling children. Like if you
stepdad, I'd be fucking great stepdad.
No, I'm not talking about being a stepdad. Stop making that leap. I'm literally like.
Oh, I'd feel really too awkward if it was just like there's a kid here and I'm not.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think Alan could handle it quite well in his happy-go-lucky way.
Wow. You really judged me wrongly there. I'm shit with kids. Like, I've got nephews and I never know what to do with them.
Oh, maybe it's just because I've seen like photos on Facebook that like your brother puts up of you hanging out with the kids. Like, so I think like, a couple
of pictures at Christmas is alright. That's about what I can do.
You picked one of them up.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do as an uncle. You pick them up, you shake them about a bit, and then give them back. Give them some chocolate, send them on the way.
Whereas Saul, I can just imagine being like really awkward, and then like saying,
"Do you mind? Don't touch that."
What's that you've got there? And then it's like a transformer or something, and you'd be annoyed about it. And you wouldn't say anything. You'd just be like, "Ooh."
You know that's shit, right? You know that's really shit.
Calvin, you strike me as someone that, maybe not yet, but at some point in the future, you'll be a couple and you'll have couple friends who have kids and they'll come over for dinner and they'll bring this kid and you'll just fucking freak out because you're like, the kid's touching everything and you have everything in a certain place.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually have some very expensive James Bond memorabilia, okay? That's not a toy.
My mum's friend's kid used to come over all the time and I'd still be like in bed, not up for the morning, and this little kid would just come in like, Rah! Just burst into my room. And it was always like, fucking, what are you doing? And they just run around touching everything and breaking shit. And it was like, stop it.
I can't take
Stop it. I'm not good with that shit. But like my stepbrothers had a kid, and over Christmas, like she was playing with the Play-Doh and I joined in making stuff with the Play-Doh, and I made a snail. And then she like squished it to use the Play-Doh, and I was like, "Oh, you've killed it now." And that was fun. That sort of thing. It was good.
You taught her about death.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the fun like uncle who's just sort of says it like it is, man.
Kids tend to just stay away from me. Like I don't know if it's just a general, like, when you see it with some people where it's like the kid will really hook onto them and be sort of like, oh, they're just interested in them for some reason. Never had that.
I think I'd get that with the right kid, but it would have to be it'd have to be a little nerd kid who's into dinosaurs or something. Actually, you know what? I'm all right with kids. When I used to work for CBBC, and there were times where I'd have to look after basically child mind a group of kids, and I did all right putting up with them going on. Kids are basically all autistic in that they don't know when to shut up talking about whatever they find interesting. So these kids were going on about some cricket player they'd met, and I was at no point did I go, look, I stop
you just talked over them and drowned them out talking about fucking Simpsons memes.
Steamed hams.
And they're like, what's the Simpsons? We don't understand.
Okay, kids still watch the Simpsons. It's still on fucking TV. Still new episodes being made with Justin Bieber in them.
Oh god.
When we were interviewing interns, potential interns rather, for work, one of the questions that was often used to be wheeled out was, what do you how do you rate Simpsons, Family Guy, and South Park, and can you sort of...
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an excellent question to gauge what kind of a person someone is, but I'm surprised that a company is properly managed as yours was using that in their metrics.
I mean, it's an informal metric, I will say. It's not
I'd love to. I think that says a lot about someone.
They'd regret asking you that question 20 minutes later. So that's series 1 of The Simpsons. Now, series 2.
Now it's sort of impossible to ask that because people just look back at you like, why are you asking me about this old show? Because people just generally...
I watch Rick and Morty, Granddad.
No. Well, yeah, and back in the day, people would have said that about Family Guy and South Park probably, but now it's people like us watching that stuff.
Family Guy are actively making jokes about the fact that kids watch Rick and Morty instead of Family Guy these days. That's Family Guy's been on for 20 fucking years this year. That's crazy, insane. That is absolutely... I got a press release from Fox saying that they're celebrating this monumentous milestone for Family Guy that I was reading earlier. And I thought... No, sorry, they called it an important milestone. And I was like, really? I don't know if I'd call that important. I mean, well done. 20 years, it's a long time. But,
Okay, one last thing about this film.
Okay.
Right at the end, we see she basically sends him a message saying, come and fuck me. And she's waiting in the room saying, come and be dom me. And he says, specifically, very explicitly says, you are topping from the bottom, but I'm all right with that. Which is an acknowledgement of this whole thing that this relationship they have is on its head. In terms of he's supposed to be the dom and he's not at all. Which I was curious if that is in the book. Or if they've put that in the film to just as a last thing to acknowledge, yes, we do recognise that this is not actually a dom-submissive relationship in the way that we're supposing it is. Do you think that was a response to general criticism?
Is it in the book?
I don't know. Probably not. It feels like it's too insightful to be in the book.
It seems like a phrase that's too knowledgeable about those scenes to...
Yeah.
But given E.L. James's power over the film, do you think maybe she would put something like that in? I don't know. Maybe she sees that as herself developing, or I don't know.
And then immediately after that, there is a little scene of them. It seems to have jumped 5 years ahead. They've got a kid. She's pregnant again, and everyone's so unbelievably happy.
My copy of the film turned Russian at this point, which was highly amusing. I don't know what happened, but they were just like... Just at
that point.
Yeah, I noticed about halfway through when she was on her phone texting, the texts were in Russian, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's definitely not the original version of this film then. And then the credits started going, and it was... Dakota Johnson. It was brilliant. Reading out the credits as they came up. Anyway, yeah.
Have you ever kidnapped someone?
I can't wait to see what your answers to that question, Alan.
I was hoping. I was. The pause there was. I was trying to think. Maybe there's a funny story where I like someone was asleep in the back of the car and I didn't I accidentally drove down the road. But no, it's never
Never even
remotely, close. Yes, nothing remotely close to that.
Did you lock someone in your house once, Alan?
No, I've never done anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Just because it happens in this film, that's the only reason I asked.
I could see you sort of like but I could imagine you constructing a situation where someone doesn't realise that you've constructed it, but they are trapped in a place with you.
What's the weirdest place, Alan, that you've ever come?
Your mum's face.
Oh
shit!
Saul's mum's actually very attractive.
Is she?
I think you'll find. Oh, she used to be. Actually, no, sorry. No, I didn't mean that. I just meant like I've not seen her in about 10 years. I'm sure she is still quite attractive.
I mean, she's barely aged. She's doing very well for her age. I have to say, good genes on that side. So hopefully, some of that will pass down. Hopefully,
that's nice. I think we've all managed to stay quite young looking. Maybe it's our general attitude towards life.
We got anything more about the film?
No. Very dull. I don't remember being as angry about it as the other two.
Yeah, very forgettable. I mean, I gave this one a lower rating than the others, but I think it was just more of like, I've just seen it all before, so it's not like adding anything new, it's just the same again.
I gave the other two films a 1 out of 10, both of them. Hated them. And I might as well say now, I gave this a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
That's how much of a significant jump
better.
up.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I gave this a 3 as well, yeah.
This film at least attempted to have a plot. I think that was the main distinction I would make, and for me that goes a long way. And like I say, just stuff like the chemistry, the characters just worked a lot better for me here. And that's not to say they work well at all. It's a 3 out of 10 film. It's awful. But I had a really shit time sitting through, particularly the second one. I think was just... They were just so bad. And this was like... I just kind of, laid back and thought of England and it was over.
Let me see. I'm going back to the other ones to see what I gave them. Okay, I gave the first 50 Shades 2 out of 10.
Right.
And I gave the sequel more. I gave that 3 out of 10.
And this one?
I guess I'd give it a 3. I feel like I'm being unfair to the first one there. But then maybe I'm just remembering that. Maybe I'm remembering the ambition of the behind-the-scenes creatives more than I'm remembering the experience of actually watching it.
I think the first one did more stuff to piss me off on a kind of conceptual level, even though it was perhaps not as badly made as the second. I don't know.
I have a question for you.
Right.
Yeah. Have either of you ever done any kind of sexual activity while recording this podcast?
No, I don't think so. Are you going to reveal to us? And now we'll have to go back and listen to the episode.
No. Calvin seems suspiciously silent.
Sometimes we've recorded this quite late on in the evening, and sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, well, I'm not going to get much sleep, so I need to sort of start getting things prepared now.
Oh, this is weird. I thought you were going to say, like, your boyfriend will sneak over and kind of just rub your crotch, and you'll be like, stop it, and pat his hand away, and it'll, like, a little fun moment. But no, you're just just loading up the night's porn.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that as well. Like, don't worry. It's just that barely even registers as a sexual act to me.
Getting it going,
prepared
basically.
for later.
Getting warmed up.
A little bit, yeah. But I haven't done that in a while. But, what about you, Alan?
Well, I'll say that there's this, sometimes I've recorded with someone in the room, a certain friend of the show, who shall remain nameless. So that's all I'm saying.
Scott Chambers.
Oh dear.
What's the smallest animal that you'd fuck?
The smallest animal?
Yeah.
A human.
So anything bigger than that is fine.
Look, can we at least so it's, let's say it's a cartoon world and it's like a kind of anthropomorphized animal. All right, I can just maybe get on board with like a no, I don't know. They've got fur.
Maybe that'd be quite nice. Like if you're on like a shag pile sort of thing, and there's lots of comforting. So yeah, I don't know. Why are you asking this, Alan?
What's the?
It does seem like you're reading pre-prepared questions from some sort of website.
It's just a funny question. It got a much more involved answer than I expected, to be honest.
Tell me about the hairiest sexual partner you've ever had, Alan.
Me? Oh, I dated this girl back when I was in Brighton.
I'm just thinking like closest to fur. That's where.
Well, I dated this girl and she didn't shave anything. She had quite hairy legs and she was generally hairy. It was all right. I didn't mind that. It's okay.
Do you remember when I brought back that very hairy Christian guy? And I don't think you saw him, Saul, but Connor did, and from then on he was called Sasquatch Joe.
Oh, I remember Sasquatch. I remember hearing all about Sasquatch Joe. Yeah, was he that visibly hairy from?
Oh yeah,
when
like
clothed?
he was like he warned me about it in the bar like, before he came back. Like he was like, "Oh, just so you know, I'm very hairy," and I was like, "Oh, no, it's fine, I am too." And
are you very hairy, Calvin?
At that time, I think I thought I was, and then after that experience, I know, oh no, actually, I'm really not. But like, he was like hair on his back that you could like grab onto and comb. It was really
Jesus.
something.
Wow.
Yeah. But then in the morning, he started. I didn't realize he was a Christian at that point, and yes, and then in the morning he revealed all, and it was
He
very
was praying for forgiveness.
Did he do the whole oh Jesus, like Nancy and Peep Show?
Oh my! Well, no, he didn't. He didn't do it exactly like that, but he was saying things that only made sense, like in the morning, like
Oh Heavenly Father, oh,
sort of like
talking in
that,
tongues. You know what? Right, to say this last year, I've had lots of sex with people. Right, it's quite remarkable to me that I have never once in my entire life managed to pull, as they say, on a night out and like get someone back to my place that I've met in a bar or something. I just don't seem wired to be able to do it. I got someone's number in a bar once.
Yeah.
I did do that once. How do you get them all the way back to yours before they realise they don't want to do it anymore?
It's not really the spirit of it. I think you need to both be willing.
Well, yeah, obviously, but like, how do you not lose that momentum? That's kind of
it's tough. It's tough. I mean, in London, like on the tube, I don't know about you, Alan, but I always found that the biggest buzzkill. Like when you get on the tube with those lights and you get there and it's like, oh, it's 8 minutes until the next one gets here.
Yeah, and it's not that you can just be sat getting off with each other on the tube. That's a bit awkward
Yeah.
and weird. So it's got to kind of, yeah.
So you sort of
you
sober
can,
up on the way anyway.
Yeah, and you can hear each other now when you couldn't before when you were trying to talk. And this is the thing. I think the only tool in my arsenal of convincing women that I'm a viable mating candidate is my silver tongue. And talk to him, be witty and charming. And you can't do that in a club. You can't have a good conversation. It's too loud.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't like it. But I would argue that the times it's happened to me, the people were not the highest caliber.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're not going to get anything long lasting out of that.
You know what? I think that's part of my, for whatever reason, like, because it's not like I have high standards with sex, but for whatever reason, on a night out, if I'm gonna like make an effort and like a play for someone, my standards go so high up. It's like I'll be embarrassed to be seen trying it on with someone who isn't at a certain standard. So I think that's probably what it is, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Solved it.
Yeah.
Sex. Who here is in the Mile High Club? Eh? Eh? If it's anyone, it's you, Calvin.
Me?
You fly a
You do
lot.
travel in luxury a lot.
I don't travel in luxury.
You've got a private jet and all that shit.
No, I don't.
All right, it's a company jet, but you can use it whenever you want.
No, I don't. No, I can't.
Oh, we need to go to Paris. Oh, God.
Standard.
Sol,
Let's
do you
see. What?
Sol, do you remember your first blowjob? How long did
No.
it take? How long did it take the guy to come?
I
You see what
Now
I did
I
there?
know why you specified that question for Saul.
Yeah, it just doesn't work with you, Calvin. You ruin it.
Sorry.
No, I don't actually.
No, me neither. It seems like the kind of thing that you would remember quite well, but...
I mean, I can piece together roughly where and what and who and all that, but I can't remember the. I remember the first time I had sex, but I don't remember the. No. Oh, you know what? I do actually. I remember the first time I remember the first time I attempted to have a hand job, and
Attempted?
and she like really fucking yanked on like really hard, and it was like, oh Christ! And I had to like, I genuinely had to go and like check myself in the bathroom because I was worried something had like been damaged, and it was all fine, but it was like, fuck me, Jesus Christ, what were you think? Like, come on.
Well, I presume she was, this is when you were a teen. She was a similar age, and she was inexperienced. She didn't know what she was doing. Yeah, you gotta teach. You've got to teach the youngsters. So.
Yeah, well, I did. I just had no idea
Don't call them
that.
youngsters.
So this is our annual tradition of the filth episode. Was it about this time last year that Saul became a single man again?
I believe it was. I think I
yeah.
watched like 50 Shades Darker like the night after I broke
Oh my
up. Or
God.
something. I think it really.
I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah,
so
no, I think
sorry.
I seem to remember commenting on it being like the worst point in my life because it was just the worst film that I had to endure.
But I mean, I've heard many stories from you over the last year. You've embraced the single life and basically become a debauched sexual pervert. Oh, not really, not
A
much
sexual
perverted stuff, but
Tyrannosaurus.
just but not perverted particularly, but just getting yourself out there, and it's pretty typical after you've been in a relationship for several years,
Yeah, I'm the guy I've always been, but I'm not stuck in a relationship.
But then, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm sure Calvin will agree with me. I've been surprised at how well you've achieved these things because you never struck me like
I have two, to be honest.
You were talking earlier when we were at university. Like you weren't the person who was getting a girl every night, or with people. You had your fair share, but it was usually
I did at university. Fucking hell, I didn't. Jesus
you had a
Christ.
few people.
You
It was
gave the
all right.
impression that you
did a lot
did.
better than
Fair
Connor.
share at university.
Yeah, but okay. You had a few, but it was generally people who came to you and really made it obvious that they were interested.
Yeah. Yeah, even my first girlfriend really was very much practically asked me out, all but officially.
And then you got in this relationship which you've been in for several years, and you end up living together and all that. So now suddenly you've got this freedom. You're sort of in your late 20s, and I feel like it's just sort of a sense of unfinished business or something.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
you've
yeah.
just
No,
put
there was
yourself-
an absolute. I was in a very my relationship was extremely like
toxic.
sexually oppressive insofar anything like remotely like sexual between the two of us, fine, but like any semblance of like finding anyone else attractive, celebrity, fictional character, anything like that was like
Animal.
fucking, that was going to be an argument for the whole night. It was
I had that with a friend who I was talking to. This is a while ago now. He was mentioning that he was seeing someone and he saw him looking at porn and was like, in his history on his computer or whatever, and was sort of like, oh, well, can't be doing that if we get, if we go exclusive and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, it's kind of like cheating,
bullshit.
isn't it? And I was like, no. And he was making the case that if you watch porn, you are imagining yourself having sex with the people you're watching, which I disagree.
Yeah, and you say, look, when we're having sex, I'm imagining having sex with other people, so I can get over that immediately.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. Anyway.
No, it's bullshit, isn't it? I feel like I've sowed my wild oats now, so, I'd be
I
happy
must
to
admit
settle
that
down.
there was some pretty outrageous stories we were getting early on, and then it sort of settled down into, I met this girl, yeah, I did sleep with her, nothing's coming of it, which is fairly standard. But there was a few stories early on that were a bit more outlandish.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Let me see. What have I done? I'm trying to think. Weird ones.
I'll give you an example. Like, there was one woman who came round and you shagged her while her husband watched you on Skype.
I cuckolded a guy. Yeah, I was a bull.
That was a pretty. Yeah.
I was a bull, as you call it.
There was a threesome, a MMF threesome. That's but I believe there was no homo involved. So you're not that adventurous.
There were two threesomes
really?
of that regard. Wildly varying quality. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how funny this is. This is the problem. It might be interesting. I don't know. There was So I met this person online, and she was just trying to organise a threesome, and
I never meet those people.
And well,
they are out there.
I'm an attractive man.
I'm an attractive man.
Yeah, but you're older than me. I don't know. It's probably anyway, I met this person, and it was that kind of thing of like, well, look, I'm gonna like go along with it, but I'm not expecting them to be remotely attractive. They're trying to organise a threesome because they've never had one with two random people off the internet. She was really hoping I had a friend that I could bring along, but
and you didn't fucking call me.
But I was like, sorry, no, is there no one else? And she was like, I guess I'll find someone else. But then she sent a picture over, and it was like, oh wow, no, that's a surprisingly attractive woman. Well, no, I remember saying to her, like, I'm really quite. I wouldn't have gone, wow, you're ugly, but now I don't have to lie. This is very surprising.
So was this someone who was just like, wanted to experiment, wanted to do this thing, and it was sort of easier and emotionally cleaner to do it with strangers and then be able to walk away?
I believe so, yeah. I think she's one of these people who'd never been made to come by someone else. I don't know if you've ever encountered that before. That is a fairly common thing. Or at least in women it is. I don't know about in men, Calvin. I don't know. But
it's never a problem, no.
But yeah, so I went along and we sort of spent a few minutes having a chat, but not really. And it was kind of straight down to business. And it was awful. It was just every bit as horrifically awkward as you would expect. I would imagine, yeah. No chemistry between any of us. Really fucking awkward. No one knew what to do. Hot, height of summer. The bed was like visibly sweaty. We sort of ticked off all the things, but it wasn't sexy. It wasn't like.
See, good. This is exactly my concern. Like, because I'm in a position where I could manufacture something like that, But I just think it would be horrible and awkward, and you'd get so self-conscious, and I wouldn't be able to get hard and all that sort of thing. Like that definitely. But I mean, over and above that, I just feel like it's the small talk I can't be dealing with.
But then the next month I had the same thing with someone else, but these people were in a couple, so they knew each other, which I think made a big difference. Yeah, so it was just one new party.
And had they done it before as well with other people?
No, they hadn't. It was their first time doing it. Yeah, I went along and tried again, and that's probably one of the best sexual experiences of my life, genuinely. It was that was really fucking great. But I think there was a real element of it wasn't meant to be like a cuckolding situation, but I was really upstaging the guy. Like, there was a definite sense of, oh, you don't quite seem to know how to do that properly. Here, let me have a go. And then, they'd have to stop because she was gonna come, and it was all. There was, and he'd go out of the room to grab something, and she'd be really into it for a bit, and then he'd come back. It was good. It was very good. So,
Oh dear. You've never had a threesome, Carmen?
I mean, that's the white whale for me is the good threesome, which I've still not managed.
I've been with a few white whales in my time, I must admit.
Do we have to pitch an idea?
Nah, not really. It's just...
Okay.
What should we do? Idea. 50
Well,
Shades.
E.L. James did release another couple of books. But yeah, I don't know, because she released two books. One of them was called Grey, 50 Shades of Grey as told by Christian, and the second was called Darker. I don't know if there's been much of an appetite for the third.
But why? What's the appetite for the first?
Money.
Yeah, but no, not from her. I mean, from an audience point of view. That's the same story from the other side, but it's not really the other side. It's not like we're going to get some deep insight into the other side of the story, is it?
But she's just announced I'm sure she's just announced she's doing a book that is like a sexy take on aliens or something.
Aliens.
Yeah, I'm sure I read. Here we are. E.L. James returns with, quotes, passionate new romance, The Mister, a Cinderella story for the 21st century. Oh, privileged and aristocratic young Englishman. So it's going to be like a Pride and Prejudice porno, all right? Pride and Prejudice and tits. Good on you, E.L. James. Well, that's our sequel. We'll adapt that. Sorted.
Yeah, sounds about right.
You know what I did, Alan? I'm very pleased with. I've done this a few times actually, but it is a thing that makes me really pleased with myself when it happens.
Are you going to talk about bukkake? Because
where did that come from?
Like that, don't they? Oh, I thought that.
What?
I thought that was something that you took pride in. Haven't you mentioned it before?
No.
Oh.
You need a lot of friends to do that.
Oh.
Is that? Do I come across as someone who comes across people and like?
I could have sworn you'd mentioned it.
No.
Oh, maybe not.
No, I'm not a big fan of semen. I'll be honest. If anything, I hate cum. It's gross. Don't want to see it.
I think it's great.
All right, lads, did somebody mention Schulte Sheeman? Flying everywhere all over a big submarine.
Oh, God. I love that James Bond and like semen puns have just become a running thing on this show. Brilliant.
Who knows where we'll be this time next year?
Yeah. Let's predict.
I think Saul's going to be in a relationship.
Yeah, that's not a mad... Yeah, that's probably quite a sensible prediction. The only thing in the way of me having a relationship is I have like really stupidly high standards when it comes to relationships. I've realised I'm extremely picky.
You've only had one for the last 7 years and it was shit by the sounds of it. So I'm not
yeah, but I'm not... I think a lot of people settle. You see a lot of people settling all the time. So many of my friends are so obviously settling, and I think it's really sad. And I don't mean sad like that's sad. I mean like it actually makes me sad, the amount of people who blatantly settle in life or have like probably never even experienced real love based on how they seem to think love operates and behaves, and it genuinely really upsets me. I just think a lot of people aren't content being on their own and around themselves, and I'm, as an only child, I'm pretty chill hanging out with myself and spending time on my own, so I don't really care that much. And there's plenty of people I've met where it's like, oh, we get along really well here, you know, we could be really good mates and just kind of have a really comfortable thing, and we could probably have made a relationship work for years, but I would never like... That was all my relationships before my proper one. It was, you know. So if I manage to find someone in about 3 months' time, that'd be great. But I don't know.
I think Alan's going to be in exactly the same situation he is now.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know what? I kind of hope I am. I'm so... I don't know, the idea of relationship is just kind of... anathema to me at the moment. But I must admit, over the last few months, I'm a bit more open to it because my circumstances have changed a bit.
Have you considered polyamory? It's the new big thing. There's a lot of people out there who... A lot of people claim to want that on OkCupid.
Well, exactly. I mean, you could certainly argue that I've had that already, and I don't have a problem with it at all. I found that most people who say they're okay with it turned out not to be okay with it, so that becomes a problem in the long term.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be happily ever after.
Yeah. I think this time you're going to be moving in with your chap quite soon, aren't you? Or that's the plan.
Oh, do you not live with each other yet?
Well, semi. But we'll be officially having our own place in about a month's time.
All right, yeah, I think that's enough of a step then. Yeah.
Big step. Any wedding bells in the horizon there? Any little twinkling of little feet or anything?
Hopefully we'll get dogs.
Dogs, yeah. Calvin, I've got a question for you, right? Just intrigued how you see me. Let's say you have a baby with your partner, right?
Oh, no.
Would you ask me to babysit?
No.
No. I mean, that's the right choice, but I'm curious as to why.
I might do. Oh, I don't know. I
wouldn't do
around
it.
while the baby was in the same room as you and see how that went, and then maybe take it to a more formal
Don't
situation.
ask me. I wouldn't do it. Let's not get offended when I refuse. Okay.
That's fair.
Unless I've got a girlfriend and she's like, oh, that'd be nice for a night. Let's look after a baby.
Oh, that's true.
Then I might do it because I
you'd
wouldn't
be
have to
up
do
for it then.
much and it might make a good impression.
Ah.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Can we end it there? I really need to go to bed.
Thanks for listening to our Filth, Flower and Filth episode, and if you have any ideas for what film we could cover for next year's Sexy Valentine special, then do please let us know, and you can go to facebook.com/Diminishing Returns podcast to tell us. And do join us next week for our other big annual special, where we look at all the films nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It's going to be a big one, but you can take it. Support us at patreon.com/dimreturns.
I'd buy that for $1.